Welcome to this edition of Mayor and Council One-on-One. I'm joined by Councilmember Tom Moore. Tom, thanks so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
And for this month, for this segment, I know you wanted to speak about license plate readers, specifically about the data retention policy. But before we get into that, let's talk about what this piece of technology is all about.
Right. There's a new kind of camera that can be attached to police cars or put in stationary places that will record the time and location and license plate number of every car that drives by. The city of Rockville currently has 3 of these cameras attached to its police cars. Montgomery County has a much larger system, and there are plenty of these all around the state.
And has this technology been successful, as far as you know, with solving crimes and handling public safety?
It's a terrific law enforcement tool. It's good for, if there are warrants out for somebody, they can pull somebody over immediately. It's good if there are Amber Alerts on a car. I was speaking to somebody at the state level the other day, and they said there was someone who had Alzheimer's who had disappeared from his house, and they were able to pick him up in Pennsylvania when he drove by one of these cameras. So it can be a life-saving tool. It's a terrific police tool.
What are you trying to do with the policy? What would you like to see done?
This policy hasn't really come before the mayor and council before. It's not so much whether we should use these cameras. I think everybody agrees that these are terrific tools. It's a question of how long do we keep the data. There's a lot of difference on this. The Maryland State Police keep the data for 2 weeks. Most other police agencies in the state of Maryland keep it for a year, and that's coordinated by the State Fusion Center. Our data goes to Montgomery County, and Montgomery County has a different way of going about it. They keep it for a year, and then they archive it indefinitely. And that's a bit of a concern. And we as a city need to make a decision whether our policy will be that we want this data kept indefinitely.
So what are you proposing about this issue?
Well, we're going to do 2 things. One is we're going to have a work session with the mayor and council. That's going to be on March 11th at our regular meeting.
And then after that?
We're going to have a town hall meeting on March 20th. We want to involve residents in the conversation and get a feel for what people who live in the community think about these cameras and how long we should be tracking their whereabouts. We have pretty sophisticated equipment in our cars, and at the end of every shift, all that data syncs up to the county. That's the way it's set right now. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way, though.
If residents have questions or comments, what should they do?
Well, they can watch our meeting on March 11th. I think it's going to be very educational. We'll have a big packet of information ready for that meeting. That will be available on the city's website. And come to the meeting on March 20th. I think there's going to be a lot of good information there, and I really want to get some back and forth going on what we should do about this.
Great. Anything else you want to add on this topic?
We have to strike a balance between what the legitimate and good police use of this information is and what right do people have to not be tracked by their government wherever they go. And it's a pretty serious issue. There's not a lot that local governments can do to protect people's privacy, but this is something that we can do. So I'd like to see if it's something that we want to do.